There comes a point in every person's life when the greatest burden is not their work, their failures, or their responsibilities, but the opinions of people who contribute nothing to their growth. You carry a weight that was never yours to lift, and it is breaking your spirit one silent moment at a time. Stop for a moment and examine the truth. The people you are trying to impress, please, convince, or win approval from are often the very people who would not lift a finger to save you if you were drowning. Yet you have allowed their indifference to govern your peace, your courage, and your direction. You fear their judgment more than you fear losing your purpose. You fear their silence more than you fear losing your progress. This is the tragedy of a mind that has forgotten who it belongs to. You must reclaim ownership of yourself before you waste another year serving those who do not care if you rise or fall. Consider your daily life. Your energy is drained not by your goals, but by your thoughts about how others might interpret your every move. You rehearse imaginary conversations, fear invisible criticism, and shrink your ambition to avoid provoking envy. The result is exhaustion without achievement. But imagine the opposite. Imagine a mind untouched by the whispers of doubters. Imagine walking into a room without scanning faces for approval. Imagine making decisions based on your purpose, not someone else's comfort. This is the freedom you were meant to experience, but you cannot reach it while clinging to people who do not care. Let me ask you something. Who benefits from your stress? Who is uplifted by your worry? Who is helped by your self-doubt? Not your children, not your family, not your destiny. The only beneficiary of your anxiety is the very person who is indifferent toward your life in the first place. The greatest secret I ever learned is this: the moment you stop seeking validation, your power doubles. A man controlled by the opinions of others is a prisoner. A man who governs his own mind becomes unstoppable. And the difference between the two is a single decision. Look back at your past for a moment. Think of the dreams you abandoned because someone laughed. Think of the opportunities you declined because someone might disapprove. Think of the strengths you hid because someone might envy you. Most of your regrets trace back not to failure, but to fear of judgment. Now imagine the cost of continuing down this same path. Another year will pass, then another, and you will watch younger, less talented, less experienced men surpass you simply because they chose to live free of opinions while you chose to live inside them. Nothing destroys potential faster than seeking approval from those who refuse to give it. Your family sees the toll this takes on you. Your child senses the hesitation in your voice. Your partner notices the frustration in your eyes. Your friends observe your shrinking confidence. You think you are hiding your stress, but stress leaks into every relationship you value. But imagine the moment you break free. Imagine your son seeing you walk with certainty. Imagine your daughter witnessing you speak with conviction. Imagine your partner relieved by your newfound steadiness. Imagine your rivals stunned by the change in your presence. When you stop chasing approval, everyone around you feels the difference. You must understand something essential. People who do not care about you cannot harm your destiny unless you hand them power through your attention. The only way a critic can control you is if you choose to listen. The only way an indifferent person can hurt you is if you decide they matter more than your mission. There is a deeper reason you struggle with this. All your life you have been conditioned to earn affection. You were trained to be agreeable, polite, non-threatening, and harmless. But no man ever changed the world by being harmless. A man fulfills his purpose by being focused, disciplined, and unshakably committed to his vision. People who do not care will always distract you. They thrive on your hesitation. They grow powerful when you shrink. But once you turn inward, once you give your attention to your purpose instead of their approval, their influence crumbles instantly. They cannot control a mind that is fixed on its own direction. Let me pull back the curtain on a truth that successful men eventually discover. Most people are too absorbed in their own worries to care about your life at all. Their opinions do not come from wisdom. They come from their insecurities. Their judgment does not come from insight. It comes from their limitations. And yet you let these fragile opinions shape your destiny. But the moment you choose to focus on yourself, truly focus, everything changes. Your energy returns. Your creativity returns. Your decision-making sharpens. Your courage awakens. You begin to feel the inner authority you lost while chasing acceptance. This is what I want you to understand. You do not need their approval to rise. You do not need their support to succeed. You do not need their applause to grow. Your purpose was given to you alone, not to the crowd, and only you can fulfill it. Think of your future now. Think of what you would become if you reclaimed all the energy you have been bleeding into other people's opinions. You would rise with speed. You would build with conviction. You would lead with authority. You would see your life take shape at a pace that would shock even you. But you must choose. You must decide whether you will continue to hand your peace to people who do not care, or whether you will take it back and invest it in the one asset that will never betray you, yourself. This message is not for the masses. It is for the individual who feels torn between pleasing others and becoming who he was meant to be. It is for the man who feels drained, discouraged, distracted, and defeated by the noise around him. It is for the one who has forgotten his own worth. What comes next will show you exactly how to silence the opinions of others, reclaim your mind, redirect your energy, and establish the kind of focus that turns average men into leaders and leaders into legends. Focus your mind. Prepare your spirit. The moment you stop stressing about people who do not care is the moment your life begins to accelerate. Part 1. The hidden cost of external approval. I have watched more men lose their destiny to unnecessary worry than to genuine failure. And the heaviest burden a man ever carries is not the weight of his labor, nor the weight of his responsibilities, but the weight of the opinions of those who contribute nothing to his growth. You may not see it clearly yet, but the moment you permit a stranger's indifference to influence your spirit, you surrender more power than any enemy could ever take from you. When a man seeks approval from those who do not care, he opens a leak in the very vessel that should contain his strength. It is not a small leak. It is a constant escape of vitality, imagination, and purpose. Every time you wonder what someone might think, a drop of your energy drains away. Every time you rehearse what someone might say, another drop escapes. And if you continue long enough, you will find yourself empty without ever having been struck by a single blow. There is a hidden truth I learned after many years of observing human nature. No enemy can defeat a man as easily as his own obsession with being liked. A critic outside you is powerless unless you give him permission to enter. But a critic inside your mind becomes a dictator, ruling over your thoughts with the iron hand of doubt. Many men live under that rule without realizing they elected the tyrant themselves through their need to please. My mind is my estate. No stranger may rule here. I learned to declare this long before I understood its full significance, and I urge you to take hold of this same declaration, for a man's mind is sacred ground. To surrender it to the opinions of the indifferent is spiritual waste. A man must be the master of his own inner world, or he will forever live as the servant of others' imaginations. You must understand this. Your energy is the fire by which your purpose burns. Every time you bend yourself to please someone who does not care, it is as though you allow that person to breathe upon your flame. And like any flame smothered by too many breaths, it weakens, flickers, and threatens to vanish. No great purpose can survive such constant dampening. Think for a moment of Henry Ford. When he conceived the idea that every household should one day possess a motor car, the world did not applaud him. They mocked him. They called him foolish, impossible, impractical. Yet Ford refused to shrink beneath the breath of the idle. He built because he refused to care who laughed. Had he allowed the indifferent to shape his direction, he would have perished in obscurity. And consider Andrew Carnegie. In the early stages of his rise, There were men who whispered venomously that he was dangerous, that he was too ambitious, that he sought more than his place. But Carnegie did not pause to seek their approval. He did not waste a single thought upon the small minds who measured his worth by their fear. He understood early that critics are not judges. They are merely spectators who shout from the safety of the stands while another man runs the race. I tell you plainly, spectators are unqualified to advise the runner. The man who has never carried responsibility cannot speak on the burden of ambition. The man who has never wrestled with purpose cannot direct the one who does. And the man who has never produced anything of value has no rightful position in shaping your destiny. The moment you begin to understand this, your life will feel lighter. Your chest will loosen. Your thoughts will clear. Approval from the indifferent will no longer be something you seek. It will be something you see through. Their indifference is not a reflection of your worth. It is a reflection of their limitations. Let this affirmation anchor itself in your spirit. I withdraw my attention from those who cannot advance my life. Repeat it with conviction. Speak it aloud if necessary. Let it become the boundary that protects your mind from the intrusion of insignificance. Your attention is your life. Wherever your attention rests, your life follows. And when you withdraw your attention from those who do not care, you reclaim your life from those who never valued it. Many men fail to see the hidden cost of external approval. They believe the price is small. They believe a little worry, a little hesitation, a little self-doubt does not matter, but these small costs accumulate. They compound like interest. And after years of paying these invisible fees, a man wakes and wonders why he has achieved so little, why he feels so drained, why he carries no momentum. The answer is simple. He spent his strength purchasing approval from people who never intended to give it. Your imagination, that sacred power through which all creation begins, cannot flourish in a mind cluttered with fear of judgment. Your decisiveness, the force that shapes destiny, dissolves when you seek permission. Your peace, which should steady your steps, vanishes when every step is weighed against the opinion of someone who stands on the sidelines. I have seen powerful men shrink into shadows because they allowed the faces of the indifferent to blur their vision. I have seen men of great potential wither because they gave more weight to idle opinions than to their own convictions. I have seen men stop climbing not because the mountain was steep, but because someone at the bottom shouted discouragement. Look honestly at your life. How much time have you lost hesitating on the edge of decisions because you imagined what someone might say? How many dreams have you abandoned because someone might disapprove? How many strengths have you buried because someone might envy you? Your regrets are not born from failure. They are born from fear of judgment. And here is the tragedy. The people whose opinions you fear are often those who do not care in the least about your rise. They would not labor through the night to help you succeed. They would not sacrifice their comfort to secure your future. They would not push you, challenge you, or lift you. Yet their imaginary criticism has shaped your destiny more than your own belief. This is the hidden theft of external approval. It steals your life while giving you nothing in return. But imagine the opposite. Imagine reclaiming every ounce of strength you have poured out to please the indifferent. Imagine withdrawing every scattered fragment of attention. Imagine gathering all the energy you have wasted upon small minds and redirecting it toward your purpose. You would rise with such force that the world itself would have to step aside. When you cease seeking approval, your power doubles. I learned this truth through years of study. A man who bends to every whisper is a prisoner. A man who governs his own mind becomes irresistible. His presence changes. His speech gains weight. His eyes grow steady. Others feel his certainty, and those who once mocked him now fall silent. You may believe that external approval provides safety, but nothing is more dangerous than shaping your future around those who have no investment in your success. Their approval is shallow. Their concern is surface. Their attention is temporary. Your life cannot be built upon such unstable ground. Consider how others will see you the moment you stop seeking their applause. They will feel your shift before they understand it. Your presence will thicken. Your decisions will sharpen. Your silence will carry authority. Your confidence will no longer depend on their reaction, and they will sense they have lost influence over you. This alone will elevate your stature. You were not created to be ruled by passing opinions. You were created to be directed by purpose. And purpose cannot be negotiated with those who do not care. It demands your full attention, your full energy, your full obedience. The moment you divide your focus between your destiny and the approval of the indifferent, you betray your own potential. There is no progress in pleasing people who contribute nothing. There is no peace in seeking validation from the unconcerned. There is no wisdom in shaping your life according to those who do not understand the fire that burns within you. But there is immense strength in reclaiming your attention. For attention is the currency of destiny. Whatever holds your attention holds your future. And when you reclaim your attention from the indifferent, you reclaim authority over the direction of your life. The time has come to reclaim your mind. The time has come to withdraw your life from those who never valued it. The time has come to walk with the dignity of a man who knows his worth, who knows his purpose, and who knows he must focus on himself to rise. You are not abandoning anyone. You are abandoning the chains that once held you. You are not becoming selfish. You are becoming sovereign. You are not distancing yourself from others. You are drawing closer to your destiny. Your life begins the moment you stop seeking approval from those who do not care, and that moment is now. Part 2, the law of inner ownership. There is a kingdom within every man that no crown can adorn and no army can conquer. It is the kingdom of his own mind. Upon this unseen territory rests the fate of his life, for no man can master his destiny until he first masters the sovereignty of thought. The greatest victories and the deepest defeats of mankind have all been decided upon this invisible throne. The average man lives as though his mind were a public square. Every passing opinion walks freely through it. Every stranger's word leaves a footprint. Every whisper of criticism echoes until it becomes his master. Such a man is not truly alive. He is merely an echo of the world's noise. His ideas, his fears, his moods are not his own. They are borrowed garments worn until they tear. But the man who awakens to the law of inner ownership closes the gates of his mind to trespassers. He builds a fortress around his thought. He installs discipline at its door. He learns to say, "This idea may enter," and that doubt must remain outside. And from that moment forward, his life begins to take the shape of order. You must learn that your mind is your private dominion. It is not a playground for idle gossip, nor a marketplace for cheap opinion. It is the workshop of infinite intelligence itself. To permit unworthy thoughts to dwell there is to invite disorder into the factory of creation. The products of such a mind are confusion, hesitation, and decay. Andrew Carnegie understood this principle better than most. When he first began his climb, he was surrounded by men who told him his vision was too bold, his ideas too grand, his goals too distant. But Carnegie had learned early to govern his own thought. He listened, but he did not absorb. He heard, but he did not obey. His mind was his fortress, and discipline stood at its gate. Carnegie once told me that he considered every discouraging remark a trespass, a stranger attempting to enter his kingdom uninvited. He treated such voices with the same firmness a king would treat an intruder in his court. That, he said, was the real secret of leadership. "Men follow me," he told me, "because I do not follow their fears." There is a term I use for those who allow others' voices to dominate their minds: mental tenants. They live in houses they did not build and pay rent to critics who contribute nothing. To live as a mental tenant is to remain forever poor, no matter how much one earns. The first act of freedom is eviction. The removal of every thought, opinion, or influence that does not belong to you. Thomas Edison was a master of this law. When others declared that the electric lamp was impossible, he did not waste a moment arguing. He simply refused to let their disbelief rent space in his imagination. Their failure to believe, he said, has nothing to do with my right to prove. And while the world mocked him, he built a legacy that outlived the laughter. Every mind is a piece of sacred ground, and discipline is the gatekeeper. When discipline sleeps, intruders enter: fear, envy, resentment, doubt. When discipline stands watch, those intruders find no entrance. And where there are no intruders, peace reigns. Peace is not something you find in the world. It is something you preserve within your own dominion. You must come to see that mental ownership is not a luxury. It is the foundation of manhood. A man who cannot govern his thought cannot govern his circumstances. A man who cannot rule his imagination cannot rule his affairs. The outer world bends to the man who commands the inner world, but it punishes the man who neglects it. When I speak of mental trespassing, I speak of the silent invasion that occurs whenever you permit another's opinion to live rent-free within your thought. A single careless remark can plant itself like a weed, growing roots so deep that it chokes your confidence for years. You must become vigilant, for weeds of doubt grow faster than flowers of purpose. Picture your mind as a fortress. The walls are your faith. The gate is your decision. The guards are your daily thoughts. Do not allow sentiment to lower the drawbridge. Do not allow pity for the critic to open the door. Let no man cross that moat unless he brings with him truth, courage, or wisdom. All others must remain outside. You may say, "But I cannot stop people from speaking." And I reply, you do not need to. The world will speak as it pleases. Your task is not to silence the world, but to discipline your response to it. You cannot control the wind, but you can close the window. You cannot prevent rain, but you can build a roof. The man who governs his reactions governs his peace. I once asked a wise industrialist how he managed to remain calm amid criticism that would have broken lesser men. He smiled and said, "I learned long ago that opinions are like weather. They pass. Why would I build my house according to a passing storm?" Those words have stayed with me. A man's life collapses only when he mistakes temporary winds for permanent truth. When you take full ownership of your mind, you no longer need to chase approval, for you become the source of your own validation. The crowd's applause no longer stirs vanity, and their silence no longer awakens fear. You operate by principle, not popularity. And when a man begins to live by principle, he becomes unmovable. This independence of thought does not make a man cold. It makes him strong. Others will sense it. They may not understand it, but they will feel it. Your calmness will unsettle the weak. Your certainty will attract the worthy, and your silence will speak louder than the clamor of those who once doubted you. Affirm this daily. No critic may enter the gates of my thought without my consent. Write it. Speak it. Live it. Let it remind you that no man can insult you without your cooperation. No remark can discourage you without your permission, and no judgment can injure you unless you grant it entrance. Observe the difference between the man who owns his thought and the man who does not. The first walks as a master. The second walks as a servant. The first acts, the second reacts. The first builds, the second waits. The first is deliberate, the second is driven. The first commands life, the second is commanded by it. When you begin to govern your thought, others will notice a change they cannot explain. They will sense an invisible boundary around you. They will test it at first, trying to penetrate your peace with gossip or criticism, but they will find it impenetrable. And once they discover they cannot enter, they will begin to respect the man who guards his own mind. There is moral power in sovereignty. The man who owns himself cannot be owned by others. The man who directs his mind cannot be directed by the indifferent. And because his energy is no longer scattered by reaction, it gathers momentum. This momentum is what the world calls luck, though it is nothing of the sort. It is law. When the mind is ruled by principle, the outer world must obey. This is the mystery of power. A man who commands thought commands circumstances. A man who organizes ideas organizes opportunity. A man who disciplines imagination disciplines destiny. It all begins within, at the quiet center of your being. Let me share a truth I learned after years of study. Weakness begins in thought long before it appears in action. Cowardice is conceived in imagination before it ever reaches behavior. Every outward defeat first takes root as an inward surrender. The man who loses his mind to others' opinions has already abandoned the battlefield before the fight begins. To reclaim the mind is to reclaim life itself. The instant you decide that no thought may dwell in your consciousness without your invitation, you take the first step toward freedom. From that moment forward, you are no longer a victim of mental weather. You are the weather maker. The law of inner ownership is the cornerstone of all achievement. Without it, no other law functions. Faith cannot operate in a divided mind. Desire cannot grow in soil that is constantly trampled by the opinions of others. Imagination cannot build where confusion reigns. Discipline cannot survive where approval dictates. You must choose daily. Will you be landlord or tenant in the house of your own mind? Will you govern or be governed? Will you host wisdom or entertain distraction? Every thought you admit shapes your future guest list. Admit only that which strengthens you. All else must be turned away at the gate. When you do this consistently, something extraordinary begins to happen. You will feel your energy consolidate. You will notice a new steadiness in your spirit. Your focus will sharpen. Your emotions will quiet. Your decisions will carry authority. You will move as one whose steps are guided by inner law rather than outer noise. And others will see it. They will trust you without understanding why. They will respect you without agreement. They will follow you without persuasion. Because leadership is not noise, it is order. And order begins with ownership of the mind. No man can claim success who does not first claim his own thought. No man can rise above mediocrity while his emotions are governed by strangers. And no man can fulfill his purpose while he remains enslaved by opinions that have no bearing on his destiny. You were born to rule this kingdom of thought. It is your sacred trust. Guard it with vigilance. Discipline it with daily effort, and fill it with visions worthy of a master. When the inner kingdom is governed with order, the outer world bows in recognition. The time for weakness has ended. The age of mental servitude is over. Stand upon the throne of your own consciousness. Declare your dominion. Command your thoughts as a king commands his counsel. And never again permit an unworthy voice to sit in judgment upon your soul. The law of inner ownership has one final decree. The man who masters his mind masters his world. And from this mastery springs the peace, the purpose, and the power that no indifferent critic can ever touch. Part 3. The Law of Emotional Economy. Every man possesses a treasury within himself, and from that treasury he spends daily. Yet most men bankrupt themselves not through waste of money, but through waste of emotion. There is a law that governs strength just as surely as gravity governs movement, and that law is simple. What you give your feeling to, you empower. What you dwell upon, you multiply. Emotional economy is the unseen wealth of great men. The wise learn to spend feeling where it builds, not where it bleeds. They invest their passion into creation, their affection into worthy relationships, their faith into purpose. But the foolish scatter emotion upon trifles, resentment, gossip, criticism, jealousy, until their hearts grow poor and their minds grow weary. You must understand that emotion is not a decoration of life. It is the very fuel of it. When you squander this sacred force on those who do not care, you commit a quiet form of self-destruction. You drain the battery meant to drive your progress, and then you wonder why you feel so heavy, so unmotivated, so uncertain. The reason is not fatigue of the body, it is depletion of the spirit. A man's energy is sacred. It was given for the building of his dream, not for the feeding of his worry. Yet I have seen men, capable men, lose 10 years of progress because they spent their emotion reacting to indifference. They fought invisible wars against imagined foes. They turned their hearts into battlegrounds for opinions that did not matter. And the result was paralysis. Andrew Carnegie taught his men to guard their enthusiasm as they would guard gold. Never argue with the small-minded, he would say. It costs too much. He understood that enthusiasm was his capital. To waste it upon critics was to spend power without receiving progress. The great industrialists treated emotion as wealth, meant to be directed, not drained. Your attention is your most valuable currency. Every thought you hold is an investment. Every fear you entertain is a withdrawal. And every hour spent worrying over the indifferent is an unrecorded expense against your future fortune. The man who controls his emotional spending is rich, even before he earns a coin. The man who does not is poor, even when surrounded by gold. Charles Schwab's secret was not merely his intellect, but his mastery of enthusiasm. When faced with difficulty, he refused discouragement. He transmuted his emotion into action, his irritation into ideas, his frustration into fuel. That is emotional alchemy, the conversion of feeling into forward motion. You must learn this art, for every emotion can be transformed into advantage. The law of emotional economy demands that you withdraw your energy from what depletes and invest it where it compounds. For every moment you spend feeding irritation, you lose the strength to create opportunity. For every hour you spend defending yourself to the indifferent, you rob yourself of the hour that might have birthed success. I have known men who were geniuses in their craft, but paupers in their discipline. They worked tirelessly, yet achieved little, for they bled energy through unnecessary reaction. Every rumor, every insult, every careless glance disturbed their inner economy. They could not remain steady. Their passion became a storm without direction. And in that storm, they drowned their greatness. You must treat emotion as the banker treats capital. Ask yourself, will this investment yield return? Will this worry produce growth? Will this reaction bring reward? If not, withdraw. If not, conserve. If not, turn inward and redirect your feeling toward purpose. The man who learns to reallocate his emotion rises faster than the one who merely increases effort. A mind without emotional discipline is like a merchant with open coffers on a crowded street. Every passerby takes a coin. Every careless word steals a piece of peace. Every indifferent face carries away a fragment of power. Before long, nothing remains. The merchant starves amid the traffic of his own generosity. Do not make this mistake. Guard your coffers. It is not hardness I teach, it is stewardship. Emotion must not be suppressed, it must be governed. It is not the absence of feeling that makes a man strong, but the right distribution of feeling. A builder does not pour the foundation where the earth is weak, he pours it upon solid ground. So too must you pour your emotional energy upon principles that endure, not upon opinions that pass. Indifference from others is a mirror that reflects not your unworthiness, but your test. It shows whether you are ruled by inner conviction or outer reaction. The critic offers no real wound. He offers a measure. When you react with irritation, you reveal dependence. When you respond with calmness, you reveal mastery. One drains you, the other strengthens you. Affirm this within yourself. My energy is sacred. I spend it only where results grow. Speak it in the morning before the noise begins. Speak it when gossip tempts your attention. Speak it when indifference bruises your pride. Let it become a wall around your emotional bank. You will find that calmness saves more strength than argument ever wins. Inner exhaustion does not come from labor. It comes from misdirected emotion. The farmer who works the field sleeps soundly. The man who works his worry does not. Fatigue of the body can be healed by rest. Fatigue of the spirit requires redirection. Stop feeding what weakens you. Start feeding what builds you. Your peace is not lost. It is simply misallocated. Think of emotion as water flowing through a channel. When the channel is clear and directed, it irrigates the field and produces fruit. When the channel leaks through cracks of fear and resentment, the water seeps into the ground and disappears. Your leaks are the opinions you dwell upon, the arguments you rehearse, the imaginary judgments you fear. Seal them, and your life will bloom. You must remember that feeling is magnetic. Whatever emotion dominates your consciousness draws to you its equal. Fear attracts confusion. Anger attracts resistance. Peace attracts clarity. Faith attracts opportunity. This is not mystery, it is law. Emotional economy is spiritual magnetism disciplined into order. You cannot attract abundance while investing in anxiety. I once asked a man burdened by endless worry, "Who profits from your pain?" He could not answer. For there is no profit in self-pity, no reward in resentment. Every emotion must justify its cost. If it does not lead to growth, it must be dismissed. The wise man audits his heart daily. The fool lets emotion spend his life for him. Woolworth once told me that during his early days, when ridicule followed his every idea, he refused to give anger any space in his mind. I had no spare energy for resentment, he said. Every drop of strength was needed for work. His calmness built stores. His restraint built respect. His composure built a fortune. His secret was emotional economy. The moment you stop responding to every unimportant voice, your energy will gather as a rising tide gathers strength before it breaks upon the shore. You will feel momentum building. Clarity will replace confusion. Peace will replace tension. The law will reward your restraint with new vitality, for nature never allows stored power to waste. It multiplies it. People will notice this change in you before you notice it yourself. They will sense the silence within your eyes. They will feel the steadiness in your speech. You will become difficult to provoke, impossible to exhaust, unshakable under pressure. Your emotional wealth will announce itself through composure, and even those who once dismissed you will begin to listen. When you reach this state, you will see that emotional discipline is not merely self-control, it is creation control. You will begin to decide not only how you feel, but what you produce. You will find that peace is the mother of precision and calmness the father of confidence. The man who governs his emotion governs his output, and thus governs his destiny. Most men are poor not because they lack opportunity, but because they spend energy faster than life can repay it. They wake already in debt to fear. They go to bed bankrupt from worry. They labor hard but reap little because their strength is scattered upon things that do not return investment. The rich man is not the one who earns more, but the one who wastes less. Let this thought take root. Efficiency is holiness. To use one's emotion wisely is to live in harmony with divine law. For God himself does not waste energy. The stars move in perfect order. The seasons follow discipline. The tides obey balance. Only man, in his ignorance, spends recklessly the very force meant to lift him. You must become deliberate with your inner wealth. When insult comes, ask, "Is this worthy of my response?" When indifference appears, ask, "Shall I give my peace to this void?" When fear whispers, ask, "Will this feeling build my purpose or bury it?" In such questioning, you begin the science of emotional economy, the art of keeping your soul solvent. As you grow in this mastery, you will find new reserves of power within you. You will rise earlier, think clearer, speak fewer words, but with greater weight. Your steps will become deliberate. Your laughter will be freer. Your presence will be felt even in silence. The man who governs emotion radiates peace that others instinctively trust. Emotional economy will make you wealthy long before money appears, because all wealth begins in inner surplus. When you have more calm than confusion, more faith than fear, more purpose than doubt, you are already rich. Life pays its highest dividends to the man who saves his strength for creation. From this day forward, let no indifferent face dictate the balance of your heart. Let no careless word overdraft your courage. Let no unimportant event spend your patience. Keep your accounts balanced, your attention invested, your emotion reserved for what endures. The world may still throw storms at you, but your inner treasury will remain untouched. This is the law of emotional economy. The man who spends emotion wisely multiplies results, while the man who wastes it remains poor, no matter his income. Learn to conserve your inner wealth. Learn to distribute your passion with intention. Learn to invest your emotion where it returns in strength, peace, and achievement. Then you shall find that what you once called stress was merely the proof that you were funding the wrong account. The day you cease paying attention to those who do not care is the day your spirit becomes solvent again. And that day, my friend, is the true beginning of power. Part 4. The Discipline of Self-Containment. There comes a moment in a man's life when he must decide whether he will continue leaking power through reaction or begin conserving it through self-command. For until he becomes his own center of gravity, he remains a slave to circumstance. To be self-contained is to live from an inward law that cannot be shaken by outer noise. It is to make the spirit one's fortress and peace one's weapon. Self-containment is not isolation, it is insulation. It is not a retreat from life, but mastery within it. The man who is self-contained does not flee the crowd. He simply ceases to need it. He does not resent the opinions of others. He simply refuses to serve them. He walks among noise as a lighthouse stands among waves, steady, immovable, lit from within by purpose alone. The discipline of self-containment is the highest refinement of emotional economy. It is the art of holding direction without depending on applause. It is the power to remain whole in the presence of contradiction. The man who has mastered this discipline walks through storms with dry feet, for he has learned that peace is not the absence of conflict, but command over reaction. John D. Rockefeller was the embodiment of this principle. His fortune was not built upon speculation or favor, but upon calm precision. When markets panicked, he remained serene. When rivals struck, he smiled. He understood that a man ruled by emotion loses before the battle begins. His composure was his advantage, and it made him the axis around which entire industries revolved. This same principle governed the mind of Henry Ford. When workers complained, when experts doubted, when investors withdrew, Ford never rushed, never pleaded, never fought for agreement. He believed so firmly in his purpose that outside opinion lost all weight. His stillness was not apathy, it was mastery. He contained his energy, and by doing so, he contained the future itself. To be self-contained is to refuse the contagion of the unsteady. The moods of others do not dictate your own. Their doubts do not dim your faith. Their haste does not disturb your rhythm. You become, in every sense, a closed circuit of purpose, an engine generating its own momentum, unaffected by the weather of men's emotions. This inner stillness is not born of arrogance, but of understanding. You have learned that no man can give you balance because no man can take it from you. You no longer chase approval because you have replaced it with alignment. You no longer crave reassurance because your conscience provides it. You no longer beg for peace because you carry it within you. When a man becomes self-contained, his presence changes before his words do. His eyes grow quiet but commanding. His movements slow but deliberate. His speech shortens but deepens. The world senses something new in him, an invisible order, a quiet strength. They do not understand it, but they respect it, for stillness is the language of power. There is a form of poverty greater than lack of money. It is lack of self-command. The man who cannot contain his reactions is forever dependent upon others to steady him. His moods are tossed by every breeze. His focus scatters like leaves before the wind. He may be intelligent, gifted, even hardworking, but he will never be trusted with great responsibility, for no one trusts what cannot remain still. Self-containment does not mean coldness. It means controlled warmth. The sun gives heat because it contains fire. The river gives life because it contains motion. The man who contains himself gives power to the world. His love becomes stronger, his service more reliable, his leadership more stable. His calmness becomes a blessing to all who depend upon him. Affirm this truth aloud. I carry my own certainty. I bow to no man's doubt. Let these words take root in your thought. They are not defiance, they are declaration. You are no longer tossed between approval and rejection. You are fixed. You are deliberate. You are steady as a compass set toward destiny. Every word that once distracted you now glances off like rain upon steel. Self-containment is not silence, yet it thrives in silence. In quiet, a man meets his real self. In stillness, his scattered thoughts return to order. The mind that once trembled at every opinion begins to breathe again. The soul that once bent to every emotion begins to stand upright. The heart that once sought refuge in noise begins to find it in peace. Rockefeller once said, "I can afford to wait." That statement reveals the secret of his control. Patience is not delay, it is confidence in law. The man who trusts time trusts order. He does not hurry to impress, nor panic to prove. He acts when principle directs, not when emotion demands. This patience is the signature of all who are truly self-contained. As your discipline deepens, people will test it. They will press against your calm to see if it holds. They will provoke, question, misunderstand. Do not resist their tests. Welcome them. Every provocation is a chance to strengthen your command. Every misunderstanding is an invitation to practice dignity. Every storm is proof that your foundation is firm. The man who lives for reaction dies by it. The man who governs his inner world outlives every critic. For reactions fade, but direction endures. Each time you respond with composure, where you once reacted with chaos, you write a new law upon your spirit. It is the law of mastery, the principle that no event has power unless you yield it. Self-containment breeds respect because it reflects rarity. The world is full of noise, haste, and desperation. The calm man stands out like an oak among reeds. His steadiness is felt before it is seen. His composure unsettles the impatient, inspires the weak, and commands the loyal. Leadership is not given, it is recognized, and composure is its first credential. Let me offer an image. Picture a great lighthouse on the coast, unmoved by storm, unshaken by tide. Ships do not question its brightness, nor doubt its place. They simply align to its beam. Such is the man who has mastered self-containment. He does not shout to prove his worth. His consistency speaks for him. The lost find direction by his light. You may find loneliness on this path. Do not mistake it for isolation. It is refinement. The crowd cannot walk with a man who belongs to himself. They need constant conversation to confirm their existence. You, having met your own mind, need none. Your solitude will become a furnace in which strength is purified, and from that furnace you will emerge as one who leads without demand. Self-containment sharpens perception. When the inner world grows still, the outer world becomes clear. You begin to see opportunities others overlook, hear truths others ignore, sense patterns others miss. Your decisions become cleaner, your speech more measured, your movements more precise. You cease to act from impulse and begin to act from understanding. The highest reward of self-containment is not applause, but power. The man who depends on nothing external for stability becomes unstoppable. His peace cannot be purchased, and his strength cannot be threatened. He becomes like nature itself, obedient to higher order, indifferent to lower noise. Men of this kind build legacies that outlast their breath. Your family will feel it first. They will notice that your temper softens, your tone steadies, your presence calms. They will find in you a reliability that reassures them. Your colleagues will sense it too. They will begin to seek your counsel, not because you speak loudly, but because you think clearly. Even your adversaries will hesitate to strike, for power unprovoked commands caution. The discipline of self-containment requires daily practice. Each morning, set your intention. I will not spend emotion recklessly today. I will not react where silence suffices. I will not trade peace for argument. Each night, review your conduct. Did I remain still when others trembled? Did I hold my course when others swayed? In this repetition lies transformation. You will stumble at times. You will feel emotion surge, temper flare, pride stir. That is not failure, it is training. A muscle grows only by resistance. Each moment of temptation to react is a chance to strengthen restraint. Each trial of patience is a test of growth. Remember, mastery is not the absence of struggle. It is victory within it. There will come a day when the noise that once controlled you will seem distant, as though muffled by distance. The faces that once provoked insecurity will lose their power. You will speak less, observe more, and accomplish twice as much. You will find that restraint multiplies energy while reaction consumes it. This is the arithmetic of greatness. When a man becomes self-contained, he ceases to ask, "Who approves?" and begins to ask, "What is right?" He no longer asks, "Who understands?" but rather, "What must be done?" This shift marks the crossing from boyhood to mastery. The immature depend on recognition. The mature depend on law. The wise depend on principle alone. I tell you this truth, to rule yourself is the rarest victory. Empires have been built by men who could conquer nations but not their own temper. Fortunes have been lost by men who could command armies but not their reactions. The discipline of self-containment is not glamorous, but it is godlike. It is the silent art of becoming ungovernable by chaos. From this discipline flows dignity, and from dignity flows destiny. A man who is composed attracts trust, and trust opens doors that talent alone cannot. Opportunities seek him because stability is the soil in which they grow. Those who once doubted him now rely upon him. He has become, in spirit, the still point around which lesser minds revolve. The essence of this law can be written in one sentence. Be the cause of your calm, not the effect of the world's commotion. When you reach this level, you no longer need to chase peace, you radiate it. You no longer seek quiet, you embody it. You no longer ask life to calm down. You stand so still that the storm exhausts itself against you. And so, my friend, remember this. You will never rise above the turbulence of others until you cease to be moved by it. The world will always be noisy, impatient, full of opinions and demands. But the man who holds his own center, who keeps his fire contained and his focus unbroken, becomes the rarest thing under heaven, a man in full command of himself. That is the discipline of self-containment. It is not the end of emotion, but the beginning of mastery. It is not the silence of fear, but the quiet of power. It is the secret by which ordinary men become extraordinary, by remaining still while others tremble, deliberate while others react, and calm while others crumble. For in stillness, my friend, lives your strength, and in mastery of self, your destiny. Part 5. Purpose, the fire that burns through opinion. There comes a time when silence must become motion, when discipline must ignite into destiny. Self-control without purpose is a lamp without flame. It is order without direction, calm without creation. To be powerful is not merely to contain energy. It is to direct it toward a definite purpose so intense that no critic can cool its heat. This is the law of burning intention, the sacred fire of purpose. A man without purpose is like a ship without compass, steady perhaps, but aimless. He moves, yet arrives nowhere. He works, yet builds nothing. He speaks, yet says nothing. His calmness becomes stagnation. His patience becomes delay. But the moment purpose enters, everything changes. The soul awakens, the blood quickens, and all discipline finds its rightful work. Purpose is not mere ambition. Ambition seeks recognition. Purpose seeks fulfillment. Ambition demands applause. Purpose demands completion. Ambition is loud, but purpose is sure. Ambition is born of ego. Purpose is born of destiny. The man of purpose does not shout about his vision. He becomes it. His actions declare what his tongue no longer needs to explain. Dr. Frank Gonzalez once decided to raise $1 million to found a college. He had no wealth, no influence, and no plan, only a definite purpose. He declared before the world that he would do it. Within weeks, his words found the ears of a benefactor who supplied the sum. The miracle did not occur because of luck. It occurred because his purpose was definite, and all law obeys definiteness. So it is with every great achievement. Henry Ford's dream of the automobile was not a wish. It was a fire that consumed ridicule. When engineers told him it could not be done, he burned brighter. When money failed, he burned hotter. When failure struck, he refused to let the ashes cool. He proved what every man must learn, that one steady flame will outlast 1,000 gusts of wind. You must kindle this same inner fire, not for the sake of defiance, but for creation. A man who is definite in purpose walks above opinion as a mountain above clouds. He does not need to lower himself to debate. The wind may howl, but the summit remains. He no longer chases validation. He chases execution. He no longer fears misunderstanding. He fears stagnation. To find your purpose, you must look not to desire alone, but to duty. Purpose is the marriage of what you love and what life requires of you. It is the sacred place where passion meets responsibility. The man who pursues comfort will fail. The man who pursues duty will rise. For duty burns longer than excitement and steadier than emotion. Once you have found your purpose, write it, speak it, guard it, treat it as your covenant with infinite intelligence itself. Repeat it daily until your heart beats in rhythm with it. Read it aloud until the air around you begins to vibrate with certainty. Do not wait for motivation. Discipline will awaken inspiration in its own time. Affirm this truth: my purpose is my shield. No idle opinion can pierce it. Let these words become a banner over your thoughts. Every time doubt enters, lift this banner. Every time fear whispers, lift it higher. The man of purpose does not run from judgment. He walks through it as if it were mist, for the fire within him is stronger than the chill of disapproval. You will discover that as purpose strengthens, unnecessary people drift away. Some will call you distant. Others will say you have changed. Do not defend yourself. They are correct. You have changed. You are no longer accessible to small thinking. You are no longer cheap to distract. You are no longer available for meaningless debates. Purpose filters your associations as naturally as light separates from shadow. Look at every great man history has produced. Edison, Bell, Carnegie, Lincoln, all had this common trait. They burned for something greater than themselves. Their decisions offended the timid. Their confidence unsettled the average. Their persistence exhausted the doubters. But they endured, not because they were gifted, but because their inner law was stronger than the world's resistance. Carnegie once told me that purpose to him was not about wealth. It was about usefulness. I make men rich, he said, not for my gain, but for theirs. His vision of service was so clear that money followed him as a shadow follows light. Purpose does not chase wealth. It generates it. For all creation bends to serve the man who serves a definite vision. Purpose transforms criticism into silence. When you know where you are going, the opinions of those who remain behind lose their power. They cannot understand what they cannot see. Their disbelief is not your burden. Their confusion is not your concern. You must keep walking, for faith grows not in explanation, but in endurance. Purpose must be renewed daily. Like a flame, it must be fed with fuel, study, reflection, solitude, and prayer. Do not let distraction starve it. The man who neglects his purpose for even a week feels the chill of drift returning. That chill is the whisper of mediocrity calling you home. You must answer with heat, with devotion so fierce that the cold cannot linger. When you live by purpose, stress transforms into structure. Each challenge becomes a test of alignment. Each obstacle becomes a measure of strength. You no longer ask, "Why me?" You ask, "What must I learn?" This shift alone saves years of frustration. For when you see difficulty as instruction, you turn defeat into training. Purpose grants immunity from small criticism. The man who is devoted to his mission cannot be offended by the trivial. He no longer requires flattery to feel confident nor agreement to feel secure. His focus purifies his emotions. His calmness frightens those addicted to reaction. His peace is not surrender, it is supremacy. As purpose grows, people begin to sense an invisible wall around you. They may call it confidence, authority, even mystery. But what they truly sense is order, the divine alignment of a man whose inner world matches his outer direction. Such a man becomes magnetic. Opportunities seek him. The right allies appear. Even adversity bends itself to serve him. Faith, when fused with purpose, becomes the fire of creation. But faith without purpose is smoke, visible, impressive, yet powerless. You must attach your belief to something definite, something worthy of your discipline. The man who believes in nothing definite wastes the greatest force in existence. The man who believes in a single idea beyond doubt bends time to his will. You may say, "But what if I fail?" I say, you already fail when you refuse to commit. You may ask, "What if I am wrong?" I answer, then you will correct with wisdom gained through motion. Indecision is a coward's comfort. The man of purpose understands that error can be corrected, but hesitation destroys momentum beyond repair. Once your purpose is set, no man can truly oppose you. They may compete, but they cannot interfere. They may imitate, but they cannot duplicate. For a man of purpose is not defined by product, but by principle. He does not chase outcomes. He shapes them. He does not measure progress by applause, but by alignment. His only rival is yesterday's self. You must never forget that purpose is sacred work. The hands that build it must be clean. Guard your character as you guard your craft. Do not lie, for deceit fractures the fire. Do not envy, for jealousy dilutes the flame. Do not boast, for arrogance smothers the oxygen of growth. The flame of purpose thrives only in humility, patience, and persistence. Others will eventually see your results and call them miraculous. They will not understand the labor behind the serenity, the discipline behind the calm, the sacrifice behind the smile. Let them think as they will. Their misunderstanding is proof that your purpose has taken you where they cannot yet reach. You were never meant to be understood by those unwilling to grow. When your purpose becomes your master, opinions become servants. They may follow, but they no longer lead. They may speak, but they no longer command. You are now guided by law, not noise, by faith, not fear, by clarity, not confusion. This is what it means to live as an instrument of infinite intelligence, to act as though your destiny is already certain. Write this upon your heart. Purpose is not found. It is declared. You do not wait for it. You pronounce it. You do not seek permission to live it. You begin living it until the world adjusts to its presence. The universe does not hand out assignments. It answers decisions. And the moment you decide, the invisible hands of circumstance begin their work. From this decision onward, your life will accelerate. Time will seem to shorten. Opportunities will converge. Doubt will still appear, but it will no longer linger. You will move with an inner authority that others will feel but not comprehend. And those who once doubted you will now seek your advice, for clarity attracts reverence. You will notice, too, that the more focused you become, the more peace surrounds you. The chaos of the world will continue, but you will stand apart, operating by your own rhythm. This serenity is not isolation. It is alignment. You are no longer a leaf moved by the wind. You are the wind itself, guided by divine purpose and powered by faith. And so I tell you, build a fire so strong within your soul that no opinion can extinguish it. Guard that flame as you would your breath. Feed it with discipline. Protect it with decision. Refine it through persistence. Let it burn quietly, steadily, eternally. For in that fire lives the man you are destined to become. Your purpose is your covenant with the Creator. It is the channel through which infinite intelligence expresses itself through your hands. Treat it with reverence. Obey it with courage. Speak it with humility. And when the world asks why you walk with such calm conviction, you may answer simply, because I know where I am going. For that, my friend, is the fire that burns through opinion and lights the way to destiny. Part 6, the habit of returning to self. There is a rhythm to all mastery, and that rhythm is repetition. The greatest among men are not those who acted once with brilliance, but those who returned again and again to the same inner truth until it became bone and breath. A man rises not by discovering new power each day, but by returning to his own power with new awareness. This is the habit of returning to self. Every principle I have ever taught, every law I have ever written, every truth I have discovered rests upon this single command: repetition. You become what you repeatedly think, say, and do. You are not sculpted by inspiration, but by insistence, by the steady chisel of habit upon the stone of identity. Even the most divine revelation turns to dust, if not revisited with discipline. The drifting man forgets himself daily. He allows emotion, circumstance, and distraction to pull him from his center. Each day he wakes as someone new, confused, uncertain, unfinished. But the man of mastery wakes each day as a continuation of yesterday's decision. He begins where he left off, polishing the same aim, affirming the same truths, rehearsing the same laws until they obey him. You must understand that life will constantly attempt to pull you away from yourself. It will seduce you with urgency, noise, and novelty. It will whisper that you need something new, someone new, some new idea to rescue you. But the wise man knows that power is not found in the new. It is found in the consistent. He returns to the same discipline until the discipline becomes instinct. This is why I call this part the habit of returning to self. For self is not a discovery. It is a reconstruction. It is built daily by repetition of truth. Every morning you must meet your own mind and remind it who rules. Every evening you must return to that inner council and review the day's performance. This simple practice, faithfully kept, will rebuild your confidence more surely than any miracle. Thomas Edison practiced this law without naming it. Each day he walked into his laboratory and began again. He failed thousands of times, but each attempt was not a new beginning. It was a continuation of the last. He returned to the same vision, the same belief, the same purpose, until even failure became repetition in disguise. That is why the world remembers his name and forgets his critics. You too must make this return daily. Not occasionally, not when convenient, but as faithfully as the heart beats. Begin with silence. Sit before the world begins its noise. Speak your definite aim aloud. Repeat your affirmations. Read your purpose until the words burn into the subconscious. This is not superstition. It is programming. The mind must be taught what to remember. Affirm this truth. I return to myself. I return to the man I am destined to be. Speak it until it becomes your anchor. When doubt arises, return. When stress overwhelms, return. When success tempts you to drift, return again. The habit of returning is the difference between the great and the ordinary. The ordinary man rises once and falls. The great man rises again and again until he no longer falls. You will find that each return grows shorter in time and stronger in impact. Where once it took hours of reflection to find peace, it will take minutes. Where once it took days to regain focus, it will take moments. This is the fruit of repetition, mastery over the speed of recovery. The disciplined mind does not avoid distraction. It returns faster than it strays. Every habit of thought builds a groove in the brain, a spiritual rhythm in the soul. Each repetition deepens that groove until new behavior flows as easily as breathing. At first, you must force yourself to remember. Later, you will not be able to forget. The man who repeats truth long enough becomes truth itself. The principle is ancient but eternal. As a man thinketh, so is he. The power of returning lies in its quietness. It does not announce itself. It does not seek attention. It is the silent rebuilding of order within chaos. Every day that you repeat your purpose, you declare dominion over confusion. Every time you reaffirm your faith, you tighten your grip on destiny. And every moment you return to calmness, you remind life who leads: yourself. Carnegie once told me that his success was nothing but the repetition of right thought and right action. He found one clear plan, one definite aim, and performed it with such consistency that results became inevitable. He said, "Men call me lucky, but luck is only the name they give to a man who refuses to change direction." Repetition, my friend, is the engine of destiny. You must learn to love this repetition. The world will call it dull. The lazy will call it obsessive, but God calls it obedience to law. Every law of nature is repetition in motion. The sun rises, the tides move, the seasons turn. There is no boredom in order. There is no monotony in mastery. Only man, in his restlessness, mistakes discipline for captivity. In the beginning, returning will feel unnatural. Your mind will resist. It will seek new distractions, new excitements, new opinions to chase. It will whisper that you deserve rest from responsibility, but that is the voice of drift. You must answer it firmly. I rest only in purpose. The comfort you seek in escape is false. True rest is found only in alignment with one's mission. Your success depends not on what you know, but on what you remember daily. Knowledge unused is like seed unplanted. It decays. Every truth you forget costs you time. Every discipline you neglect costs you momentum. Every law you ignore demands a new lesson through pain. Remembering is cheaper than repeating failure. Make this your ritual. Each morning, return to gratitude. Each day, return to work. Each night, return to reflection. In gratitude, you renew your faith. In work, you strengthen your direction. In reflection, you preserve your peace. These three acts, practiced daily, will turn your life into a temple of order amid the world's noise. As you build this rhythm, people will notice the difference in your presence. You will no longer speak as one guessing, but as one who knows. Your eyes will no longer wander. They will focus. Your movements will no longer hurry. They will flow. The same life that once drained you will now obey you, for repetition has made you the master of your own vibration. Every return deepens identity. You are no longer the man who tries. You are the man who continues. You are no longer the man who waits. You are the man who acts again. Each repetition confirms belief. Each belief hardens into faith. Each act of faith shapes reality. This is how success builds itself, one deliberate return at a time. The world may call this persistence, but I call it worship. To return to your purpose daily is to honor the intelligence that gave it to you. It is to tell God Himself, I have not forgotten. It is to prove yourself worthy of the assignment by showing up in thought even before evidence appears in form. Faith begins as repetition. Miracles are its result. There will be days when fatigue tempts you to abandon this practice. You will say, I already know my aim. Why repeat it? That is precisely when you must return, for knowing is of the intellect, remembering is of the spirit. The intellect forgets when tired, but the spirit endures when disciplined. Repetition engraves belief beyond the reach of doubt. Let no success exempt you from this ritual. The moment you stop returning, drift begins again. Many men lose wealth not because they lack talent, but because they forget the habits that built it. Discipline must survive prosperity, for prosperity tests loyalty to principle more than poverty ever could. The man who forgets the climb repeats it. When discouragement comes, and it will, use it as a signal to return. Do not analyze failure in panic. Return to order. Do not drown in confusion. Return to calmness. Do not argue with critics. Return to focus. Every return adds a layer of strength invisible to the world, but undeniable to the soul. This is how steel is forged. Heat, cool, return, repeat. This daily repetition will soon reveal its greatest reward, unshakable self-trust. Each day you keep your word to yourself. You repair the bond that years of doubt have broken. You begin to believe in your own consistency. And that belief, once built, is more valuable than any external approval. For a man who trusts himself fears nothing. In time, you will see that repetition is not bondage, it is freedom. The disciplined man is the freest man alive. His habits carry him where others crawl. His routines protect him from chaos. His repetition eliminates the need for decision. He no longer asks, "What should I do?" For he has already decided. He simply acts, and the world follows the rhythm he set. You will also notice that repetition grants invisibility to distraction. What once disturbed you will cease to exist in your awareness. The same voices that once provoked you will sound faint and harmless. You will move as if surrounded by a silence of your own making, because repetition builds spiritual insulation thicker than any wall. Let this be your understanding. Repetition is the bridge between thought and reality. Every repeated truth lowers itself from the invisible into the visible. Every repeated vision gathers matter around it until it stands before you. The law never fails. What you impress upon the subconscious daily must express itself eventually. You are sculpting the unseen each time you return. Your affirmations are the hammer, your thoughts the chisel, your faith the hand that never tires. Even when progress seems invisible, the shape of your destiny is forming. Do not stop chiseling because the marble is silent. Continue until the form appears. Persistence, not perception, proves creation. Others may grow impatient. They will ask, "Why do you repeat yourself?" Smile and answer, because repetition is the mother of mastery. They will mock your rituals, your affirmations, your constancy. Pay no attention. While they seek variety, you will be building victory. While they chase novelty, you will be mastering eternity. When at last you look back upon your journey, you will realize that every breakthrough was nothing more than the accumulation of daily returns. Each success was simply the harvest of habit. Each victory was born of yesterday's repetition. There were no miracles, only the mathematics of discipline multiplied by time and faith. Therefore, return today, return tomorrow, return for the rest of your days. Each time you return, you shorten the distance between who you are and who you are meant to be. The man who forgets himself dies daily. The man who returns to himself lives forever. For that is the secret of immortality, not to escape time, but to repeat what is eternal until it becomes your nature. Return to self, my friend. Return until self and purpose are one. Part 7, Becoming the Independent Mind. There comes a point in every man's growth when he must step beyond guidance and walk as his own authority. The discipline of returning to self was the preparation. Independence of mind is the coronation. It is the moment a man ceases to borrow wisdom and begins to embody it. It is the hour when he no longer repeats truth as a student, but speaks it as its living proof. To be an independent mind is to be a law unto oneself, not in rebellion, but in obedience to the higher law within. It is to be guided by principle rather than popularity, by conscience rather than consensus. Most men live second-hand lives, thinking what others permit them to think, fearing what others fear, admiring what others admire. The independent mind cuts its own path through this jungle of imitation. It took me half a lifetime to learn that greatness is never collective. It is solitary, deliberate, and self-directed. No crowd ever built a monument. No committee ever discovered a new continent. Every advancement in civilization began with one man who dared to think independently and act as if his thought were divine command. That is the inheritance of all who claim ownership of mind. Andrew Carnegie often told me that his greatest asset was not steel, nor machinery, nor wealth. It was independence of judgment. He hired experts, but he reserved decision. Advice, he said, is a tool, not a master. He listened widely, yet obeyed only his own conclusions. This power to think beyond opinion, to hold counsel with one's own conscience, is the mark of true leadership. You must now cultivate the same sovereignty. The opinions of others can be useful, but never sacred. Accept truth wherever you find it, but worship none. Even my words must be tested by your own experience. If they serve you, use them. If not, set them aside. For wisdom is not a set of rules. It is a living relationship between mind and principle. The independent thinker does not reject the world. He simply refuses to be ruled by it. He observes, learns, and adapts, but his decisions flow from inner certainty. Such a man is not stubborn. He is steady. He does not argue for his vision. He manifests it. He does not wait for agreement. He moves until agreement follows. Independence is not arrogance. It is maturity. Look at Henry Ford. He listened to no expert who said the automobile was a fad. He obeyed no banker who said production must be small. He dismissed no laborer whose idea could improve efficiency. He took what was useful from every voice, but all decisions bore his signature. He moved by conviction, not by consensus. That is why his name outlived his critics. You will find that independence begins not with defiance, but with trust. Trust in your own reason, intuition, and moral law. The timid doubt themselves and call it humility. The strong believe in the divine partnership within and call it faith. To doubt yourself after understanding truth is to doubt the intelligence that placed that truth within you. Confidence in your judgment is not pride. It is reverence for the source that made you capable of it. The world fears independent thinkers because they cannot be controlled. The institutions of average men, schools, companies, governments, are designed to produce obedience, not originality. But progress requires rebellion, not of chaos, but of conscience. Every reformer, every inventor, every leader began as a man who refused to think according to the common pattern. He stood alone, and the world followed. Your independence will test those around you. Many will interpret your calm as arrogance, your certainty as coldness, your solitude as pride. Do not explain. You owe them no apology for being awake while they sleep. The approval of the crowd is not a measure of worth. It is a measure of compromise. The man who needs to be understood by everyone will never rise above anyone. Affirm this daily. I think my own thoughts, therefore I create my own destiny. Each repetition engraves sovereignty deeper into your spirit. Say it until your tone carries conviction that no mockery can shake. You will notice how others respond differently when you speak from certainty rather than persuasion. A man who knows no longer pleads. The independent mind does not isolate itself from counsel, but it filters all counsel through reason. It listens with attention, but decides with authority. When it errs, it adjusts without shame. When it succeeds, it remains humble. For independence is not perfection, it is responsibility. The mind that depends on others for direction blames others for failure. The independent mind blames only itself and therefore grows stronger. Observe how the independent thinker behaves under criticism. He does not rush to defend nor hasten to justify. He measures whether the critique holds truth, extracts it if it does, and discards the rest without resentment. Emotion cannot disturb him, for his approval no longer depends on noise. The crowd calls this detachment arrogance, but time always vindicates the composed. Consider Abraham Lincoln. He stood against the current of opinion, bearing the weight of a divided nation. Advisers doubted him, enemies mocked him, even friends abandoned him. Yet he thought independently, prayed deeply, and decided alone. His solitude was sacred. It refined his moral vision until the nation's destiny flowed through his steadiness. Such independence is divine duty fulfilled. You must also learn to stand alone without bitterness. Independence is not hostility. It is harmony with higher law. When your thought aligns with truth, you no longer need validation from men. You may walk alone, but you walk with God. You may lose friends, but you gain direction. You may endure criticism, but you inherit peace. Solitude becomes not punishment, but privilege. The man who depends upon flattery for confidence will lose both when silence comes. But the man who depends upon conscience for confirmation can walk through silence with joy. To him, quiet is not emptiness, it is authority. He hears the whisper of infinite intelligence, where others hear only the echo of their own doubt. An independent thinker is never reckless. He studies cause and effect. He consults principle, and only then he acts. He is daring, but never careless. His courage is not rebellion against order, but faith in divine sequence. The timid call him lucky when success follows. The wise know he simply obeyed inner law. Independence of thought is contagious. Those around you will begin to feel it. Some will be inspired, others threatened. The insecure will retreat. The confident will draw nearer. Soon, without effort, you will find yourself surrounded by stronger minds, men and women who also think for themselves. This is the mastermind in its purest form. Unity without conformity, harmony without submission. The truly independent mind is not easily entertained because it is busy creating. It no longer consumes opinions, it produces them. It no longer follows conversation, it directs it. It no longer wastes words, it builds with them. The crowd may call him quiet, but his silence is fertile. His ideas grow while others talk. To live as an independent thinker is to live with dignity. You may fail, but it will be your failure. You may err, but the lesson will be yours to keep. You may stand alone, but you will stand tall. The freedom of self-direction is worth every misunderstanding, every isolation, every cost. For there is no slavery worse than dependence upon another man's thought. Each day you must renew this independence. The temptation to drift never disappears. Approval will still seduce, comfort will still beckon, fear will still whisper. But you must remember the price of surrender. Years lost, potential buried, peace sold for praise. The mind that does not guard its freedom will soon find itself imprisoned by convenience. When you feel pressure to conform, pause. Ask yourself, does this opinion serve my vision, or does it weaken it? If it serves, adopt it. If not, release it. This is mental hygiene, the daily cleansing of thought. Just as the body must wash away dust, the mind must wash away doubt. Neglect either, and decay begins. The independent mind does not boast of independence. It demonstrates it. It proves it through action that needs no advertisement. The world measures a man by his fruits, not by his declarations. Speak little, act precisely, and let the outcome testify. The river does not announce its direction, it simply flows, and everything that floats upon it must follow. Independence is not separation from others, it is leadership among them. The man who owns himself inspires ownership in others. His clarity invites courage. His composure breeds confidence. His example awakens dormant power in those who once feared to think for themselves. He becomes, without effort, a teacher of self-reliance. This is the true reward of independence, not riches, not recognition, but influence rooted in respect. The crowd may never understand your discipline, but they will feel its weight. The weak will find comfort in your steadiness. The strong will find partnership in your vision. You will no longer compete with men, you will complete them through example. When a man reaches this state, he becomes untouchable. The indifferent cannot distract him, the jealous cannot wound him, the critic cannot confine him. He is beyond approval and immune to insult. He acts from law, not from mood. He moves from inner command, not outer permission. He belongs to himself and therefore belongs to the world as its servant, not its slave. In time, the same people who once doubted you will look to you for guidance. Their questions will sound familiar, for they are the same you once asked when you were bound by their opinions. Answer them with patience. Teach them by your example that peace is found not in pleasing others, but in mastering self. Be the proof that independence breeds harmony, not division. The independent mind does not end in rebellion, it ends in service. Once you are free, you are able to give without resentment, to teach without fear, to lead without domination. Independence refines generosity. It removes the need for control, for only the insecure seek to dominate. The truly independent man desires not power over others, but peace within himself. As your independence solidifies, you will feel an ease unknown before. Decisions will come swiftly. Doubt will fade quickly. Fear will visit but find no lodging. You will move through life as a steady current, guided by your own law, yet in harmony with divine order. This is the final evolution of self-mastery, the state of being your own cause. Now at last, you will see that every teaching has led to this: to think for yourself, to act by conscience, to live by purpose, and to remain calm amidst all contradiction. You are no longer a leaf moved by winds of approval. You are the wind. You are no longer a reflection of others' light. You are the flame. Stand firm, then, in this independence. Guard it as the crown of your creation. Speak truth without fear. Build quietly without apology. And walk the earth as one who answers only to his own soul. For that is the man the world cannot ignore, the man who belongs to himself.